Seto Kaiba's struggle to match the prowess of Yugimoto and Atem is deeply rooted in his character's psychology, worldview, and the central themes of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga. Despite his near unlimited resources and strategic brilliance, Kaiba consistently finds himself chasing the shadow of Yugi and Atem. Today I'll be going over detailed narrative and philosophical breakdown. Before we get into today's video, please leave a like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's get into the video. Kaiba embodies a philosophy of control, logic, and domination. His obsession with being the best duelist stems from his upbringing, particularly under Gozaburo Kaiba, who instilled in him the ruthless desire for power and success. This worldview starkly contrasts with the philosophy of Yugi and Atem, who view dueling as an extension of the heart of the cards, a metaphor for trust, connection, and collaboration. An example of this comes from the Duelist Kingdom arc. Yugi defeats Kaiba in their second duel despite Kaiba's tactical gambit of threatening to endanger his own life if Yugi attacks. Yugi's triumph reflects his unwavering trust in his deck and his friends, while Kaiba's attempt to manipulate Yugi through his fear highlights his resilience on control rather than trust. Philosophically, Kaiba's struggle stems from his inability to embrace vulnerability or acknowledge the value of cooperation. His insistence of a purely rational approach to dueling blinds him to the metaphysical elements of the game that Atem and Yugi master, such as the bonds between a duelist and their cards. Kaiba's rivalry with Atem is not just about skill, it's also a clash of ideologies. Atem represents ancient wisdom, spiritual power, and a legacy rooted in the past. Kaiba, in contrast, embodies technological advancement, materialism, and modernity. This clash mirrors the manga's broader themes of ancient mysticism versus contemporary ambition. An example of this comes from the Battle City arc. Kaiba's use of cutting-edge technology contrasts with Atem's reliance on the Millennium Puzzle and its mystical powers. Despite Kaiba's technological superiority, he loses to Atem in their semi-final duel. Atem's victory underscores the idea that Kaiba's modern tools cannot overcome the spiritual strength and historical depth Atem represents. Philosophically, Kaiba's inability to defeat Atem reflects his struggle to reconcile his rejection of tradition and mysticism with their undeniable power. His focus on individual greatness and material achievements leaves him blind to the intangible forces that Atem wields. Kaiba's obsession with power is both his greatest strength and his most significant weakness. His need to assert dominance over Yugi and Atem is rooted in his fragile ego and unresolved traumas. Having been humiliated and outclassed by Atem in the early series, Kaiba becomes fixated on proving his superiority. An example of this comes in the ceremonial duel at the end of the series. Yugi faces Atem to prove that he has grown strong enough to stand on his own. While Kaiba is not directly involved in this duel, his inability to move beyond Atem's legacy is a key theme. Yugi's victory over Atem signifies personal growth and humility, qualities Kaiba often lacked. Philosophically, Kaiba's struggle stems from his inability to view defeat as an opportunity for growth. His belief in power as the ultimate measure of worth blinds him to the value of humility and the lessons failure can teach. Kaiba's deterministic worldview is another reason he cannot surpass Yugi and Atem. He believes that victory is a product of superior strategy, resources, and individual talent. Yugi and Atem, however, demonstrate that dueling is also about emotional connection, intuition, and one's belief in their deck and companion. An example of this comes from the Battle City arc. Atem consistently draws cards that seem to respond to his faith and emotional connection to his deck, such as the moment he summons Slifer the Sky Dragon to counter Kaiba's Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Kaiba, in contrast, views such draws as mere chance, dismissing the spiritual bond that Atem shares with his cards. Philosophically, Kaiba's struggle represents the tension between rationality and intuition. His inability to acknowledge the role of faith, luck, and emotional resonance in dueling limits his growth as a duelist. Kaiba's solitary approach to dueling further separates him from Yugi and Atem, who thrive on their connections to others. Throughout the series, Yugi's friends, Joey, Taya, and Tristan, provide emotional support and strategic insights that enhance his abilities. Kaiba, on the other hand, isolates himself, refusing to rely on others. An example of this comes from the Duelist Kingdom arc. Kaiba duels Pegasus alone, relying solely on his resources and intellect. He loses because he cannot counter Pegasus' Toon World strategy or his ability to read minds. Yugi, by contrast, defeats Pegasus by combining his and Atem's strengths, as well as drawing inspiration from his friends. Philosophically, Kaiba's isolation reflects his inability to embrace the interconnectedness that Yugi and Atem embody. His reliance on individualism limits his potential as he refuses to draw strength from others. Kaiba's fixation on surpassing Atem is rooted in his need to validate his own identity. Atem represents an ideal of perfection, an unbeatable king of games with millennia of wisdom and experience. Kaiba's desire to defeat Atem is as much about proving his worth to himself as it is about defeating his rival. In the dark side of dimensions, Kaiba builds a device to resurrect Atem solely to duel him again. This act highlights Kaiba's obsession with Atem as a benchmark for his own greatness. His willingness to defy logic and even reality to achieve this goal underscores the existential nature of his struggles. Kaiba's obsession represents the human tendency to chase unattainable ideals. Atem serves as a mirror for Kaiba's insecurities, and his inability to let go of this rivalry reflects his inner turmoil. Kaiba's struggle to match Yugi and Atem stems from his philosophical worldview, psychological trauma, and inability to embrace the values that Yugi and Atem embody. While Kaiba represents intellect, power, and individualism, Yugi and Atem thrive on connection, faith, and humility. Their victories over Kaiba highlight the series' central themes: the strength of bonds, the importance of trust, and the triumph of heart over ego. Kaiba's journey is ultimately a cautionary tale about the limits of power and control. His failure to surpass Yugi and Atem is not due to lack of skill or resources, but due to his inability to grow beyond his narrow worldview. As such, Kaiba's struggle is as much as a philosophical conflict as it is a rivalry, making him one of the most complex and compelling characters in the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video to the very end. For more content like this, please leave a like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really lets me know what you guys like. And with that being said, I am out of here.